Yo. Okay. So let me try and get the mic going. You know what? I might not even have it. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about trading, right? Currently, right now, as we are talking, I'm not profitable. I'm not, well, I don't want to talk bad of myself, but I'm not profitable. I have yet to take any big time payouts out, and I'm working on becoming a profitable trader, making this full time. That being said, though, I'm reflecting a lot on my journey. I'm doing a lot of things that will help me better myself in trading. So, while I'm on this journey, right, and while I'm learning new things, I want to give out the new things that I'm learning to people who are actually in an area of trading, who may be in the same area but a different age, or who may be farther along, and they can tell me if I'm either right or wrong, or they can relate and think about it. Um, Anyways, I wanted to say that these are the top 5 things that I learned as a person who's 21 and trading, right? So I might throw in even an honorable mention because I just thought about it, right? And I just want to allow myself to talk about it, get it off my chest, get it out my head instead of trying to write it down and put it on paper, close it. I want to record it, post it, and see if anyone else can agree to it. First thing, right? First thing I'll say that trading really teaches me, and it has taught me, and it's still teaching me, won't even lie to you, is patience. Being able to have patience when you see a setup, but you need that second or third confluence, and then you need like that first or second confirmation for you to be like, I'm gonna enter in this trade, or or not taking a trade every day because the market's not showing you something that you would typically want to trade off of. Maybe market already swept out your draw liquidity, or maybe market is in a choppy motion and you don't even know where the draw is, or if markets like recently, even right now, bro, the market is like was going up for like I think a month, April, yeah, like two months, just bullish, bullish, bullish. Made new all time high, still going, still going. Damn near was close to 30,000, new number and everything. And during that time, I was taking trades, but then like I kept like telling myself like, oh, we're gonna go lower, we're gonna go lower. But like when you looked at it when you looked at a bigger picture, you realize that we were still going bullish. We already swept out any draws that would make us want to rebalance, and we're just going up. The only thing that we had now were lower draws, and we were never ever rebalancing to them. We just kept going up. Like price would market would open. Sorry, market would open, and literally as market would open, you would literally just press long, and like you would make money. That's where the market is at right now. Um, and like with the whole trading, I just really thought like, all right, if I just relax, don't trade every day. Sometimes I'll look at the market and I'm like, all right, I see something, but this doesn't align with my rules, or this doesn't align with my plan. I don't see anything. Like I use probably like three to four confluences, and like if it's not 50% or more confluences connecting, I'm not I'm not trading. And like that's what patience had to teach me though. Next thing was number 2, right? Practice. A lot of times when I was trading and I was understanding a lot of things with getting better at it, practice, 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 practice. You hear people saying like, "Oh, I'm profitable." I'm sorry. Whoa, pause. You see people who are profitable within 6 months. You see some people who are profitable within a year, 2 years, three, four, so on and so on, right? And what I was realizing was they probably did something that I wasn't really doing. Cause like I got into the market, me pressing buy, pressing sell, and I was like, yo, like I'm making money, all this is cool. But then the whole time, right? Ed moment right here. I was paper trading, thinking that I was actually doing something, but then I didn't have no system, I didn't have no plan, I didn't have like, I didn't have results. I didn't have anything from the past to practice on. I was just building something, trying to learn something new. And that's where I was practicing, right? Taking paper trades or watching my videos and writing my notes down and then back testing, like doing stuff like that. And I won't lie, moving now, right? I would suggest to somebody who's new to trading, trade live. If you're gonna backtest, backtest here and there if you want past data, because like let's say market right now is at all-time highs and we're still going up and up and up and up and up. Maybe you want to trade last year when we weren't at all-time highs and we were probably doing something a little bit different. You can practice. Practice, 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 practice. Right? Third thing, discipline. Being properly disciplined while trading is like kind of the hard thing for most people, because like you may be hitting big wins and you may be doing this and you may be doing that and you're going here and you're going there and you're buying this and you're buying that, but then like when it comes to trading, you're probably pressing buy and then immediately pressing sell because you saw that you were up a good amount, but you weren't actually following your rules. You were just gambling. Stuff like that is what separates you from a person who knows how to trade to a person who's just trying to make money out of the markets. And that's why most times when you watch any video, they're gonna say build a system. When you build a system with trading, it allows you to learn from your mistakes. It allows you to do a bunch of things, right? When you're disciplined and you have a system and you stick to your system and you do something day in and day out and you're always staying disciplined to it, you have a system, you have some rules, and these are the rules that you abide by. You have non-negotiables. Like, you have things like that you have to follow through, and when you follow through with it, you're gonna see that you can become disciplined while following through. The people that don't do that, they're just gambling. They're just trying to make any amount of money out of the market so they can say that they made money out of the market without actually sitting there and taking, like we were saying in practice, taking the time to actually practice what they're like, what they need to do. Like a bunch of people who aren't staying disciplined and wanting to gamble, okay, they may get a big win, but then like, where's the foundation? Where's the practice? You want to be disciplined and do all this stuff, and you want to trade and do all these big things, but then you didn't practice, so you don't even know what you're looking at. Speaking of discipline, right? Moving on to the next thing, which is being consistent. Being disciplined and being consistent, those are literally like, okay, they're damn near like almost the same thing, but like they intertwine with one another. When you're consistent and you're disciplined, hold up. Ooh. Sorry, I had to close something. My window, I had to slam it. Anyways, when you're being consistent, right? Having proper consistency along with discipline can help. This is why I'm saying discipline and consistency is everything. Because if you're consistent on being disciplined, and you're disciplined because you're like if you're consistent on the practice and you're being disciplined by only following your rules and you're being patient, now you see how everything flows into one. You're being consistent with being disciplined, right? You're not falling out here and there, and you're not just taking random wins. You're being consistent with something that you were disciplined about because you wanted to learn from what you practice, and you're only going to learn what you practice if you're patient enough to stay consistent, patient enough to stay disciplined. Like, I don't know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but I hope you are. Anyways, right? The consistency. Being consistent helps. Because then, the small wins, right? The small wins, those stack up. Those allow you to see, okay, there's a bigger picture to it, right? All right, let's zoom in. Okay, you had one trade for $500. Okay, you had one trade for $200. Okay, you had a nice little trade for $50. These are like, you feel me? Never using live capital when you're trying to work on risk management. But then you look at it on a wider scale, you have 20 wins of $500, but only about, let's say, 5 losses of like $600, right? Those $600 losses, those hurt because you probably wasn't being disciplined. You probably wasn't consistent with your plan because you weren't being patient, and you weren't being patient with what you practice, right? And that literally will show you. Because if you're not consistent, it will show. This is why most people, they journal. They want to make sure that they're doing journaling so that they can do, actually, this is the next one. They can do self-reflection. That's number 6, self-reflecting. So when you can self-reflect on anything in your trading, a win, a loss, you understand that you had certain emotions, and these emotions weren't here yesterday, and these emotions are because what, you have greed, or because you took a loss and now you're mad. And it's like, when you get to write that down and you get to work and you get to look at, like, everyone feels emotions. Everyone's gonna feel emotions, and when you feel those emotions, that's okay. But when you write down your emotions or you type out your emotions, like, for example, people use Notion for trading journals because it allows you to look at data. They have graphs, so you can look at your emotions like data. For me, I use like a thing called Mood Flow. I'm not sponsored by them, and it don't even matter. But Mood Flow, it's an app. You can use that, literally it tracks all your emotions like data. Anyways, self-reflecting. When you learn to self-reflect, you get to understand what's going on. Okay, you're $100 in drawdown, and now you want to try and take the trade, but then you remember, right? Last time you were in $100 of drawdown, you wanted to just close out the trade and try and get into sell because you see that you were losing money, and you think the market's going down. But that's not what you're supposed to do. Because if you stay disciplined, then you'll be able to actually look at what you're doing. And when you're consistent, it helps build the data. So then when you realize, okay, I'm not gonna be disciplined if I just take this trade right now and I take this loss and I try and short and then I take more of a loss, and then now you're in this thing called tilt. Tilt is basically pressing buy and sell just so you can get a feel out of it, like chasing that feeling of making some money. Money is a byproduct to what you should be doing. You should be focusing on your steps. That being said, right, when you self-reflect, you allow yourself to actually realize where you're going wrong, because then you can easily go in the same direction. But then if you realize, okay, I keep going in a circle and I keep making the same mistakes. I enter in a trade, I take a loss, I get mad, and then I do something that's not good for me. Next day comes in, you take a trade, you lose, you're mad, you do something that's not good for you. It's a circle. But then think about it. Now, you write it down. Sorry, picked up my marker. When you write it down and you start to look at it on a bigger scale, this is why sometimes looking at the bigger picture is what helps, because you can see that you took, let's go back to our example, 20 wins of $500 for 4 losses of $600. When you look at that one win and that one loss, it's like, damn, I did just lose $600 and I did just make $500. But then when you look at the 20 wins versus the 4 losses, you can see that, you can see that your wins are far beyond your losses. You're gonna have that margin between how much you lost and how much you won. That's what you keep. That's what you realize is you being consistent and being disciplined. Cause like you can be like this, like you can literally be like this. Like your losses, your margin piece can be like this. Like you can literally have this much margin, and like this little gap that you have right here. That's the difference that you get to keep when you're not being consistent and you're not being disciplined. That's how much you get to keep. But then when you start to realize and you start to self-reflect and you start to look at it on a bigger scale, then you start to look at, okay, when you start being more disciplined, you start being more consistent, and you start being patient, and you start practicing what you were doing on the back burners, now your margin looks bigger. And it only looks bigger because you took the opportunity to self-reflect. That one journal entry every day. And then you look at it like, okay, let's say, okay, some people don't like using the computers, right? When they're like typing in their emotions. So now let's say you self-reflect with a Post-it, and now you have 3 colors. A day when you're upset because of the loss, a day when you like really crashed out, or a good day, right? Like that's really what it is. Cause like there's a method that I know people really used, and I think it's I forgot what it's called. It's basically like when something happens, there's a feeling and then there's an action. I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on. Oh man, it's like a feeling, and it's like an action, a feeling, and then a behavior. It's like something can happen. Like you took a loss. Okay, now that you took a loss, you feel like this, and because you feel like all right, you took a loss, right? Sorry, you took a loss. Now you feel like you're a failure. You didn't do nothing in trading. Now that gap between you not feeling like something and you going on tilt, right? So like you take the loss, you feel like you don't deserve to be trading. Now you want to go on tilt so you can make money back and prove yourself wrong. That gap between feeling like a failure and taking trades to be on tilt and actually feel something, that gap right there, right? When you can stop your emotions from doing that, that's all because you did self-reflection. Now, for my honorable mention, right? A lot of people are gonna say I'm maybe just yapping when I say this, but not comparing yourself. For example, I compare myself sometimes. I see that I'm 21 right now. I'm about to be 22 in August, and I'm like, yo, there's a guy my age who probably has like a very nice lodge or has a very nice car, lives in a very nice house, like supporting him and his peoples and all that extra stuff. And it's like, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? But then when you compare yourself, now you're trying to race after something to prove who like that's why I say not comparing yourself is probably the best thing that I learned when I was telling myself, don't compare yourself, because where they are, they were probably in the same position as me, and they probably told themselves like, okay, if I just stay consistent, don't compare myself, stay disciplined, stay patient, it'll all play out. All right. And that's how I had to think. Like if I sit there and I tell you, like, don't compare yourself, right? Because I'll tell it to some of my boys, but regardless, right? Some of my boys actually are farther along on their trading journey than I am. And then, yes, sometimes in trading, you feel me, you're a late bloomer. Don't allow that to be a reason for you to feel like you're not doing enough, right? Everyone has their chance to shine. Maybe it's not yours yet, but your time will come. And this is why when you don't compare yourself, you allow yourself to be better for not just yourself, but for whoever else you're doing trading for. Let's say, for example, your typical trader will start at 17. Person right now, the average age of wanting to do bigger things, 17 to probably like 25. That age range. You're probably starting trading at 17, 18, 19. Now, if you're my age, you've probably been trading for like 2-3 years, maybe, and you're like, okay, I've seen the money. I've seen that it could get done. I can see that I'm passing accounts, I'm getting funded, but then like when you get right towards that moment, you like get like this feeling of greed, and you're like, yo, I want to take a big win so I can take a big payout, and I know I can prove whoever I need to prove wrong. But then that's what I'm saying, because say somebody had their time to prove whoever they needed to prove wrong. Okay, that's cool. That's what they wanted to do. Don't compare yourself though. When you allow yourself to be a better person for not just yourself in trading, because I'm gonna say there's two people that you're facing. You're facing yourself who sits behind a computer, and then yourself with life. Because if you feel like you're not doing anything in life, it's going to fall into trading. And then if you feel like you're not doing anything with your trading, now you're going to feel like a failure in life. And then you're going to open up your phone, you're going to see that somebody's probably in Miami on a boat, popping a bottle, and he's talking about, I just made XYZ on off of trading, and this is why I get to live like that. But look, don't compare yourself. Because who knows what he's doing to even do any of that. They have a thing now called LARPing. Literally. You can literally go famous off of faking it till you make it. So, that being said though, don't compare yourself. If that's the one thing I want to tell people, and I'm glad I got the chance to tell myself, do not compare yourself.